What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of a Thinking Man's podcast. I'm your host. My name is Joseph PIRCHER. Alongside me, my good friend Tommy Stiles from Stiles Strength and Performance. Tommy, what's up, man? How are you?
Another show, man. Back from Michigan, back in my home, the desert.
Yep. Avoided the snow for the most part, so that's good. Back in the sun. Um,
Yeah, it's nice out.
and you are the topic of conversation today, my friend, at least partially. So Tommy's in contest prep, and I want to know about it. And I think it would be interesting for everybody to hear about it. So lay it out for us like we're all 5 years old and we haven't seen any of your posts or Dom's posts. Where are we at with things? How you feeling about things? And from there, I'm just going to kind of pick your brain and cut you off. So go for it.
Yeah, so we are 16 weeks. Actually, when this comes out, I'll be just inside 16 weeks out. Um, Very ahead of the game as far as condition. So that's all Dom. I mean, he has everything mapped out. I don't ask questions as a how I coach is a little different than how I am as a client. As a client, I'm very much just like, tell me what to do. Unless it is something that I need to clarify on, I'll ask a question. But outside of that, I don't need contact with my coach unless it's the update day. That's how I work. I'm very, basic. And I started working with coaches almost a decade ago when it was not the level of involvement and service it is today and what you and I provide. So I kind of have stuck to that as far as my needs as a client are very much just like, give me the plan, I'll go to work. I don't have to think, I can just work. And that way I can focus on my clients. So our communication is good. We check in every 5 days right now. I would say something that I'm now faced with is last night I was training chest and first rep, first working set on the Smith incline, low incline is about 30 degrees. Get to the bottom and I feel
Mm.
snap, crackle, pop. So it is what it is. No big bruising.
Did it
There's
bruise?
some slight discoloration. So there is some
Okay.
degree of repair.
Yeah. All right.
It's small. I mean, I've had this happen before in content. This probably happened my last 3 preps. Never this early.
Fuck.
I think it's just because of how lean I am. Estrogen's probably lower because, not to give my whole PED cycle, but I am on Arimidex and Primo, and I'm naturally a lower estrogen guy anyway. So
Yes.
um, I'm lean enough, and I've already felt the not as much water around my joints, which my pressing strength hasn't really decreased. I think it's just a state of my strength might be higher than what my body can perform at right now. So
Yeah.
creates a talking point for the show, and something I've been rattling around my head the last 24 hours is, you know, especially for that given movement, I open with some sort of incline Smith every week, whether it's a mid incline or a low incline. 5 to 7 reps for the top set, 10 to 12 for the back down. That's what I was doing most of my off season when I was at higher body weight, holding more fluid around the joints, etc. So I think now what this opens up is I'm going to have to do one of two things: change my training style all across the board and maybe use more intensifiers and less weight through this prep, maybe, or just get rid of rep ranges that are that low, because I'm not gonna, even though I can. And the thing about it is like warm-ups felt good. Mentally, I was good. I was cued in with my music, my body, everything felt good during warm-ups. There was no form issues. In my head, I knew I was like, I'm going to beat what I did last week. I will get this set. And it was just a matter of boom, 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 boom. And, I flew the day before, so maybe I was a little drier. My sleep was off. I changed time zones, whatever. I don't really make excuses. I'm just trying to, trying
Any
to
prior
understand.
tweak on that at that angle, like on that exact press before in the weeks prior?
No.
Nothing. So in your mind, there's not like anything that you're like, hey, I'm kind of working around this or being cautious about feeling this. It was just, hey, performance is going up and I'm coming after this.
No, yeah, I felt yesterday
Man,
was like
that's
one of those days where, I felt like I could take more than I was going to take. And it
Man,
was,
I've been
I
there.
didn't. That was me not being a meathead was like, hey, I just need to add 2 more
Right.
reps. That should be my goal.
Isn't that a
Not,
motherfucker? You try to play it smart.
just one of those things. But then me being
Now,
me,
what
I
is
needed
this?
to like
Because I've seen you doing this. Is this one you're dead stopping at a point, or this was a free negative?
pretty negative, no dead stop, real
Yeah.
controlled. I mean, I
Yeah.
never
No, I
loaded
know. I
weight.
know how you press. Yeah.
Um,
Fuck, man.
but I did. I tried a couple other movements and I could still feel it. And then I tried the same movement again, but I lowered the weight to like 2 plates aside, and I did 2 reps, and it was just I could tell it was starting to get sore already. So I
Yeah.
scrapped it. I did arms and calves and abs, and I still had a quality day. I made, adversity happens. You can be a
Yeah.
bitch or a warrior. It's your choice. But now today on this, it's very sore. There's some slight bruising. Ice, BPC, I'll get with my PT hopefully tomorrow. And I know I'll be fine to get back to training chest by next Monday in some capacity. But, I'm 16 weeks out. So I think I need to heed this warning. And like I was saying, either increase the rep ranges and I can keep the same movements, but I'm working in higher rep ranges. So naturally the loads will be less, or maybe adjust my training all the way across to where, but I haven't really had any other issues other than this, as far as like my strength's good. My pumps are great. My endurance is fine. I
When you
haven't,
say change everything across, are you saying chest or everything? Everything.
kind of, I mean, at least looking at everything, because I'm pulling from the floor, but I'm only doing 1 set a week.
Oh, you're saying heed this as a warning and recalculate everything.
Because like my off-season
I
training
see what you're
style, and
saying.
I've talked about it, is very much still along the lines of DC, what I did with Jordan Peters, progressive, heavy slag iron, but I never have
Yes.
issues. In prep, we've talked about the differences in training and like lowering volume, but for me and how I train and how strong I am in certain movements, I'm now having the thought process of maybe it's not going to be the volume that's a culprit as much as it's going to be the poundages that I work with. And if
Or
my
even the
if my if
individual
my
movements.
mindset is to hold as much strength as I want, which is what I've messaged on this podcast, you and I have talked about, is to hold all my strength. I don't think getting contest lean and holding my strength is going to necessarily work cohesively. I think there
Yeah, no,
has
it's
to
not.
be
I don't really think it's possible. Not to put a ceiling on anything, but
right.
like full on, like just think about the difference in the two extremes. Like you at peak mass, like you're a fucking unit, and that's not to say that you aren't going to be when you're peeled, but I'm talking glycogen, fluid, all this different stuff, like you already mentioned. Um, and then even like you said, like sleep was poor, man. I would, because sleep is my point with saying that is sleep is only going to get worse from here. Like, yes, you're 16 weeks out, but looking at you, you're probably going to start feeling some of the effects like you're 8 to 10 weeks out, um, because that's just where you are from a body fat standpoint. And then hearing the protocol, like with how it's that protocol is meant to have you pretty damn dry right now. Like
Right.
again, I would say then your weeks out is deceiving,
Yeah.
and maybe not the best indicator of where you should be, like with even movement selection, or not even poundages. I think I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I think this is a time, hearing that this did just happen and this is the circumstance, knowing like what the protocol is, where you're at with body fat, like seeing how lean you are, all this stuff. This is a time you might be able to utilize more stable movements. I know you like using these slag iron movements, but use some more stable movements and maintain your strength within those, so that you are maintaining a level of like performance and stimulus to the muscle, but then there's a new level of safety or a lower degree of risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought about, that definitely. And then even incorporating dumbbells, even though it's less stable, but I can put my arms in positions that,
Well, you're not forced into anything then. Yeah.
so that side that
And
Smith is, I like it, but it's also, it can be finicky sometimes as far as pressing on it.
Yeah. That's like one of those old school ones that's not completely stable on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to your point about dumbbells as well, if you do kind of, I'm going to kind of make a point opposite of what I was saying before, but you do have the 16 weeks. Like you physically have to go through that much time. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what to do with your training, it's, you know, it's probably too early to go to exclusively like machines or super stable movements. That's not what you want right now. You still want to like kind of challenge and force your body to stabilize on its own in some degree. So dumbbells are awesome because I just feel like they limit a ton of risk because you can move as your body moves then.
Right. Yeah. So that was my just overall the last 24 hours as I dissect it and analyze, the training plan.
Yeah.
Because right now it's my frequency is
What
only
about for legs? What are you
once
doing
a
for
week.
legs right now?
I have legs on Tuesdays. So hamstrings I also put on Saturdays with back, and then I
Okay.
do them on Tuesdays as well. So it's basically open with a standing leg curl. Um, and then every other week I squat in the Smith. Both
Okay.
gyms I use have a Smith squat or have a Cybex Smith, and I like to squat on that.
Yeah.
That one I keep, and that's another one I keep one set in of like 6 to 8. I don't do a back down set. I'll do more higher rep sets and volume on like leg press or pendulum or hack. Um, I do Bulgarian split squats
When are
once.
you pulling off the floor with back?
Yeah. So with that, it's one week I do them early in the workout, and that's where I'm strongest.
Yeah.
So I can, work with anything from 405 up, stiff
Mm-hmm.
legs. That's more of just like, that's my compromise with myself. Like I love to pull off the floor. If you give me, if you tell me I'm terminal, I'm going to die in 3 months, I'm pulling every single day until I die. Um, but to be my best version of, and we're actually talking about this in the Facebook group right now, a member
Yeah.
just posted, saying you have to be able to, what are you emotionally tied to, and then what's best for you as a bodybuilder. And I'm emotionally tied to pulling heavy. So that's my compromise with myself, is I'll give myself that one working set, 6 to 8 reps every other week. And at some point in prep, I know I'll probably pull that out. But then the
Okay.
off
All
week,
right.
I do them at the very end. And I end up working with barely over half of what I work with normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
More of like a deficit stiff leg, to where I'm really focusing on hamstrings. And that, but other than, there's no other lower back loading in my back day.
Okay. That was what I was going to ask next then. So no like Ben Rose or anything. Um, I would say I like your idea about having to rethink the rep ranges, but just on specific movements, like
Yeah.
just on these brutal heavy movements at this point. You know what I mean? Like there's a time to fucking get fuck all strong and pack it all on. And that's not now anymore
Right.
for you, it's just
Yeah.
not, it's not the main goal right now. So um, I think, but then high rep deadlifts can be a little suspect too. I'm glad that you said it, so I didn't have to say it. At some point it has to come out. But I think probably, man, I don't know. It's tough to say because that's if there's never any like prior tweak or anything like that. Chest injury is just, it can be a mind fuck to where you want to rethink everything, but then it's like, man, if it's not broken, don't fix it. When you first brought it all up, my gut was to just, okay, let's look at the chest alone and how
Mm-hmm.
to attack this, and then leave everything else. I wouldn't say a fluke, post travel chest injury all of a sudden means that like your lower back or your core or something is compromised now. So
No, and I mean, logically, that's probably what I'll do, is address chest training as a whole.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
that, I would
and
say
I
across
think
the
I
week,
think
chest
all of
has
the
the most
above.
volume too.
Well, I was going to say all of the above. Like you were like, I've thought about having to revamp chest, whether it's just changing the rep ranges or whether it's intensifiers. That's kind of a smaller muscle, like where it doesn't, especially the stuff you are going to be capable of doing now isn't super systemically taxing. So I think a combination of both. Bring your rep ranges up on the movements that you are going to do and feel safe in. And then I think this is a good example where it's not a bad time to do intensifiers. As somebody that's advanced, trying to keep a certain level of stimulus already in a muscle that you were already trying to like bring up and really preserve. I think that is a good time to almost not throw the kitchen sink at it, but it's not like I'm telling you to go do rest pause with 585 on your back for squats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're gonna have to find different ways with like machines and cables and different stuff. I don't think doing those things with intensifiers or higher reps is gonna be like the systemic and fatigue costs that we would normally associate with these things in a contest prep setting. And I'd imagine you're probably still eating a good chunk of food. PEDs are in play. I think it could wind up being a good thing because it's going to be a novel stimulus. Whatever you do, there's going to be some level of novel stimulus to it. And then you might come out of it where, you've talked about wanting to improve your chest as like a main focus. You may come out of that with like a new connection with it because you've had to learn new little techniques that don't bother it.
Right. I think, food is, I think training days are somewhere around between 53 and 5,400. And then non-training days are 3,700.
I'm not getting to that amount of food at 116 weeks out. So the fact you're at that at 16 weeks out is wild, dude. I don't think there are many people that are eating that much at 16 weeks out, period.
Yeah, he had done some
And you're lean as all hell. Like you're lean,
yeah.
dude.
He had done some minor pulls, like 100 calories, utilizing all macros pulls. And then I haven't had free meals in a few weeks, probably like a month now. And now we find that like Friday, he did give me a burger and fries as a sub for my last meal. He increased.
Well, you get ahead of schedule, and then you can do these things. I see that he's doing this with you and with Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna hug his nuts. I want to see the final product with both of you guys. But
right.
I like what I'm seeing. So it's that has to give you confidence too, seeing it kind of come together.
Yeah. Main point for anyone listening is like, the coach assesses the look and the other feedback, and then he just decides to give, say, a burger and fries. There's no magic to it. There's no, it's not a rite of passage. I could give a shit if I didn't, if I have it or don't. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I would prefer not to eat foods like that just because it's mentally better for me. But I also do what I'm told. So, don't associate contest prep and burger and fries or refeeds, or we've talked about that before. Just everybody's different. Every body type is different. There's timelines. What you do 40 weeks out dictates how 20 weeks out will go, 15, 10, so on. So I guess that's kind of a teachable moment. But yeah, so that's, my prep is, mentally, I don't feel like I'm in prep. I'm doing everything I would be doing regardless of if I had a prep this year or not.
Sure.
It's all very, rinse, wash, repeat. I do see obviously the changes happening physically and in pictures. I'm leaner, less water. Much better. I mean, I actually made a point that I'm not even going to look at my last preps weeks out pictures as like a comparison because I don't care. It doesn't matter. There's so much time between preps that it's like, it's two different people. So there's no point to compare. It's a different ball game. So I'm focused on.
You have to be feeling like you're ahead of the game though.
Oh, very, yeah.
From where you've been. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's wild to see that. I mean, usually my low back is much softer with love handles are still present, and even that's tighter than normal, which is, if that's my fattest area and it's already better than it normally is, then I should be able to unlock new conditioning
That
levels.
tells a lot of that tells me most of the story. And I kind of want to touch back on a point that you made, because this is like really exciting stuff to almost talk about. I mean, contest prep, we're almost starting to talk about the final product. Like, you being in an awesome spot at 16 weeks out is part of the final product. My point is, you get to be excited about this and talk about this and, like, share photos and have us be like, wow, yeah, Tommy's ahead of the game because of what you were doing at 46 weeks out and 86 weeks out. Like, people need to understand that all of that comes together. Like, it's easy to just see the highlight reel when people want to share contest prep and think, wow, like that looks great, man. He really killed it for 12 weeks or 16 weeks. But it's like, no, the people that really nail it on stage, it's the culmination of a year or years worth of effort. And I want to point that out because it's not as glamorous. I mean, like, the amount of time that you get in the spotlight or the sun, so to speak, for what you're doing in contest prep is a small margin of the time that you spend just behind the scenes working with no positive reinforcement at all. Like, it's just on you mentally to stay within the process and churn it day after day. So then you've earned the right then to be in this spot that you're in at 16 weeks out. So it's cool to see, man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for Gary too, because he's going through something similar. Now I gotta ask, dude, what are you doing drug wise, man? Like, what the fuck? This is bodybuilding. What are we doing? You don't have to give away all the secrets of the timing or anything. I mean, fuck. I don't think Dom would be devastated that you talked about drugs on a podcast.
No. I'll tell you that. So
there we go. Stoic Tommy with the thoughtful answer.
Yeah. Testinanthate or testipionate, sorry. Primo. MPP.
Okay. Good
D-ball.
structure. Makes sense. Okay. See?
D-ball's in play.
Let's talk about that. So anyone that's going to listen to our show is going to hear that and be like, what? D-ball, 16 weeks out, contest prep. How's that been for you? What do you think the thinking was, or like in terms of why you put it in, and what's the response been?
So my
that's wild. You look that dry with that in, dude.
Yeah, my last experience with D-ball was 2018. I had brutal lower back pumps, and I was done. I wrote it off.
Yeah, that means you had fucking high blood pressure because your kidneys weren't filtering any water.
Yeah, like I remember like being at the gym and having to wear a belt during training simply to keep pressure on my lower back. It hurt so bad.
Yeah.
So I was done with it. And then, he told me to take it, and I was like, well, I'm not a bitch, so I'm going to do what I'm told. And it had been a long time. Maybe I was also eating more inflammatory foods back then. My gut health wasn't as good as it is now. My digestion, I wasn't a focus. So I haven't had any issues. I haven't had any negative side effects. No appetite issues, no lower back pumps. For reference, the dose is 25 milligrams a day. I take pre-training, and then I take it fasted on the off days. But it's great. It's I do notice I don't know if I'm going to say I'm stronger physically, but I'm mentally stronger to want to attack weights. So I do notice the aggression with it. The pumps.
That was kind of my point all along, was like, what did he put it in for? He put it in knowing that you're ahead of schedule, or the plan was to have you ahead of schedule, drier than ahead of schedule. And then it's like, okay, well then knowing that we need to keep training performance up, and it's okay if this brings along some water with it, let's do it.
I think it creates an opportunity for the first leg of that prep to really be a recomp more than anything.
Or even, man, it's it's a nuanced thing, and this may open a can of worms. But honestly, in your particular situation, that he might even be looking at that like that's a time for you to grow. With PEDs in training performance, like being held at like peak levels, and you're eating 5,200 calories a day, like there's a good chance that you're churning through some fucking new muscle at that point. Like there's not many people that eat that much even in the off season to grow.
Yeah. And I will say, so test, primo, MPP, D-ball. I am using a Arimidex right now at 3 mgs a week. GH is six I use it. We do it a little different where we do.
It's a tasty dose.
We do it every other day. So instead of 6 a day, it's 12 every other day.
See, now you're giving away the secrets.
Yeah. And then there's a little bit of Humalog on back and leg days pre-workout. And then we didn't start with it, but recently in prep, we added Lantus back in the morning.
Yeah, that's still a lot of food, man. That's still like the protocol is almost that of like what a lot of people's off-season protocol looks like.
That's why I said it hasn't mentally switched for me that like this is contest prep. Changes are happening physically, but it's just like, I'm still force feeding. I still have to like set my timer and like make myself eat on time because I'm not hungry. And that's just been what bodybuilding has been for me for years now. So when I have clients who are starving or we talk about different prep phases, like I'm not speaking from personal experience because outside of 2017, when I was, definitely over dieted, high T3, high cardio, the whole nine, like I have never experienced what others have as far as that, just because of the amount of food I require and not being a foodie, not naturally being someone who likes to eat. So I will say that, the cycle I just mentioned, and we're talking about D-ball, I had the cleanest bill of blood work I've ever had in my life right before he gave me that cycle. So I'm guaranteeing that played a role in maybe the decisions he's making.
We're also talking about you being 15 years into training and stepping on a national stage as a super heavyweight. So for everyone listening, let's be mindful of the context.
Yeah, I think, I did push pretty hard in 2022 with gear. But I take all my health supplements. I spend a boatload of money on the supplements. I have a blood pressure cuff. I have a glucometer. I check these things every week. I make sure I get my water in.
But do you have an A1C monitor?
Not yet, but I will be ordering one.
That's next.
Credit Phil Viz for that one. I've always had good A1C,
but
Phil Viz gets credit for that recommendation and posting the
find
board on Amazon.
Awesome find.
But the point is like, the cycle is interesting, and anybody listening always wants to talk drugs. And I like to talk drugs too, but at the same time, make sure you also look at all the other variables because it all works together synergistic. I've started this prep, and last off season I was doing more cardio than I did in my last prep at all. Which 6 times a week, 20 minutes on the stairs. That alone has changed life for me because my endurance is higher. My connection to my glutes and my legs overall is a lot better just from that constant stair stepping, in which has made my legs have a different look than they've ever had. So all these little things, all these little caveats, the routines, the little habits, the supplements, I can say definitely, if your kidneys are fried or your EGFR is lower, you're not drinking your water, like that's going to affect you getting in proper contest shape. They will not work for you getting peeled. So it's just,
good point.
I'm never going to be someone who joins the camp of like, I'm team low dose. Like I'm not, I'm interested in PEDs. I'm interested in pushing human performance. I am an extremist. That being said, I'm an extremist with health supplements, and how far can I push my body while still keeping my health intact too is where I'm at.
We want the best of both worlds. And honestly, with everything that we have at our disposal, there's no reason that you that you can't, unless there's something, you know, some type of predisposition, and or you're completely reckless or get poor advice. Um, it is possible. I mean, I've talked about my own experience where peak off season, peak blast, it looks like I'm not on. So, um, you know, that's one of the things that I had hoped this podcast would do is not preaching low dose. I think like John and all these guys I'm affiliated with get that rap. And it's like, no, we're going to do what it takes, but you have to kind of earn.
Effectiveness.
You kind of have to earn that right though as well. Like it's like you have to be on top of your health supplements, your cardio, monitoring. You know, especially blood pressure. I think blood pressure is just the biggest limiting factor for bodybuilders in terms of health. Um, and so, like, yeah, like getting all that in order, making it so that everything looks as it should, even when things are on. Like you have to earn that right, and then because of that, then you've also earned the right to explore higher doses. That kind of comes along with your level of muscularity and just how much time in the game you have. But you check all those boxes, so it does make sense.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of John, and like, I feel like he may give credit somewhere else, and I don't know who gets the original, but like Talmasartan, I really feel like J3 put a lot of emphasis on that as an ARB to deploy while running peds. And, you know, last year I added it in for the first time. And typically I'm someone who's, my blood work's never been mashed from running gear. It's just like mentally I hit a wall and I'm like, I can't handle like 16-week cycles and I'm done. Like mentally I cannot keep going. As far as like inflammation and just being beaten up.
Yeah,
But add this in 40 milligrams with the last meal every night. And I feel like I don't feel like I'm cruising, but I don't have any negative side effects from being on a cycle that I would have previously had. I feel
yeah,
good. I don't feel run down. I don't have that inflamed feeling that you get when you've been on a cycle too long or you've been on a cycle at all. Like, so I
yeah. A
will
healthy
say
body is a productive body. Like that's,
credit
you know, that
credit to
was,
John for really putting a lot of focus on adding that as a prophylactic measure because
yeah,
I added it in and I was like, wow, I feel really good on a high amount of gear. And then I ran out and I didn't use it for a while. I was still on a high amount of gear and I started to feel shittier. And I was like, boom, now I know it works. So I put it back
yeah.
in, feel great.
Yeah, I can say, and I think we've probably talked about it on this show at some point now. At this point, we've gone through all of it, but I had I was happy to hear that from you about your experience. I had a very similar experience, like no exaggeration, basically a life changing one because blood pressure was a major limiting factor for me within bodybuilding. Um, and that's not even just PEDs. It's just how heavy I could bring my body weight before things got really out of hand in terms of blood pressure and water retention. So, um, you know, it's not just a blind stamp that we're going to put it on every male enhanced bodybuilder, but a lot of times it makes sense. And then, you know, you have to find your dose. You have to get your blood work done. You know, in some instances, you know, for people, then I've seen it where gear just brings their blood pressure higher than the average person would per that milligram. So then they need a higher dose of telmisartan. I've worked up to 80 milligrams of telmisartan. An issue that you can run into there, though, is then that your potassium will drive too high. So then you need to pull it out and really optimize the lifestyle stuff to try to get that blood pressure back down. And if you can't, then that's just a case that again you've hit like a limiting factor and you can't run your gear that high. So it's a matter of getting your health in order first, so you have that long runway, both in terms of duration and how much you want to use. Um, and then that's why you're in the spot that you're in. So that's awesome, man. I'm impressed hearing all this, like thinking through the way that Dom has organized things. Um, and that's good. Like I'm happy for you to hear that, because at this stage with where you are in bodybuilding, that's what it requires. Like you're trying to do some advanced shit. So you would need advanced guidance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's been, we work very well together. There's trust and there's just like, I will say, and I think a lot of people listening can maybe find value, like as someone who's worked with coaches before, as someone who coaches, a whole roster of people, both in the competitive and lifestyle world, as someone who's been in the industry and in this game for over a decade, like you do have to like check your ego and make sure that all the while, like you're in the game, you don't make yourself uncoachable. And like, well, I coach others, so I know a thing or two, and I'm not going to do what this guy said. Like when I hired Dom, I made sure mentally at whatever he says, I don't care what I did in the past with so-and-so. I don't care what I think I know or what, I don't care what J3 says. I don't care what Dante, I don't care what anybody else, I'm hiring this guy. I'm giving him my money. This is who I'm going to listen to no matter what. This is who I'm listening to because that's the choice I'm making. And there was a lot of things on the initial meal plan he gave me that I did not want to eat. I don't want to prep. I don't want to buy, sweet potatoes, avocado, like all these things. Like I had to honor that contract I made. Like I'm going to do what he says. I'm going to stay open-minded. Just because I didn't buy sweet potatoes or avocados or eat all these vegetables over the last 5, like I'm hiring this guy for a different perspective and to maybe correct some of the issues I had run into. And my digestion's the best it's ever been. My mindset's the best it's ever been. Like I already talked about how I feel on pushing PEDs for longer durations and at higher amounts than I was running. And my blood work's the best it's ever been. Even as a natural, I have blood work all the way back to 2014 or 15 when I got on. It's better than my natural blood work. Like my lipid panel is better, enhanced 8 years than it was as a natural. So that tells me that the lifestyle habits and the supplements and everything, it all ties together. You can improve your health. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still taking risks. I'm still there. This is not the safest way one can live their life, but I've already crossed that moral battle. Not getting off topic, but make sure as you collect your years in the game and if you switch coaches, like you always remain coachable. Don't ever, I do know some things about my body, definitely, but also I'm not going to be one of those guys that starts to tell a coach like, hey, I know my body. Hey, I don't want to do the stairs because Instagram says they're going to make my legs disappear in prep. Like he told me to do the stairs. I can do the stairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, well, the thing is you hired him for his recipe. So if you're going to start changing ingredients, then you're wasting not only both of your time, but the money that you invested in it as well. And I want to harp on that because I recently just had a disagreement with someone that I was helping about like basically the semantics or the definition of adherence. Checked in with this guy every week for weeks on end, and then finally one check-in. Yeah, man, I have to let you know about the diet. For like the last 4 or 5 weeks, I'm not really a fruit guy, so I wasn't eating any of the fruit. And, you have peanut butter in some of these meals. And I was kind of deciding on the fly that day, like in that moment, whether or not to have it. A lot of times I would skip it. This is what I was doing for all these things. And then I said to him, like, well, then we need to recalculate because, I don't know what you've been doing for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like I expected that it was this and it wasn't. And so like, we need to kind of recalibrate because you weren't following the plan. And he shoots back that he is following the plan. What does it matter if he changes things out? Like at large, he's following the plan. And it's, it's interesting because I offer a lot of flexibility in the way that I coach. But for someone to just say, no, I'm not a fruit guy. I'm not a vegetable guy. I'm just going to outright skip that. It goes back to what you were just saying. Yeah, there's going to be some stuff on there that maybe you're new to eating, or maybe like, do you think that all of us enjoy eating vegetables? No. If it was up to me, I would never eat vegetables. I eat vegetables at basically every meal that I have because it aids in everything that I'm trying to do. It's part of the recipe. Like you wouldn't just leave salt out of a recipe and when it tasted like shit, be like, well, I just decided to skip that. I still followed the recipe though. And it's like, no, motherfucker, you obviously did not because this tastes like shit. So that's a point that I wanted to make, because you so excellently made that point that it's like, man, you're hiring this guy for his degree of service. Now, I completely agree, and anyone that I've helped knows that I take into full account all of their experience that they have. I want to hear all that stuff. There's a time and place for that. When we're first getting working together, I ask for all that. Hey, what movements haven't worked? What injuries are you working around? What food sources can you absolutely not do? Which ones do you like? What are you doing right now? What digests well? I give you that opportunity to lay it all on the line. So then when I put it together, it's like this was kind of based on you to begin with. So if you can't follow this, then man, you're going to have a tough time in this industry. And not even if you're competitive, but just in this lifestyle period, you're not going to reap all the benefits of truly living this lifestyle if you just choose to skip out on aspects of it.
That and it, make sure you check yourself and like, are you running away from getting out of your comfort zone? Because as with any coach, you probably, I have a questionnaire that they fill out where they send me either their current diet or what a typical day's eating looks like, and I sent Dom mine, and I had everything laid out as I was doing it.
Yeah.
It was, but my point is like it was what I was comfortable with. It had cereal, it had Gatorade, it had all these easy quick fixes for carbs, because in my head I'm somebody that has to have 800 to 1,000 grams of carbs and I can't eat all this rice, blah, 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 blah. I had done all these little justifications for myself over the last handful of months because I do know some things. I coach others, so I can do this. And he took that information and then decided I'm going to have him follow this plan. I didn't tell him in when I signed up, like, hey, I can't eat. If I tell you I can't eat a food for whatever reason, yeah, don't include it. Like some people don't want fish. Okay, I don't have to give you fish. But if you tell me I have no food allergies or intolerances or issues, and I build you a plan, and then the email comes back, well, I don't like eggs, I don't like chicken, I don't like are you sure you want to work with me? Because we're not off to a good start. So make sure that like eating the things that he told me that I wasn't previously eating made me get out of my comfort zone. But look, on the other side of it, I became a better bodybuilder, a better coach, and my physique has reaped the benefits of all of the above.
And it's not even just the physique, it's all of it. It's all of it. It's your gut health, your digestion, all of these things that have to be in order first to allow it to positively affect your physique. You check off all these little boxes first, and then you get the big reward at the end. Like that's what bodybuilding is in a nutshell. And so if you can't do that on a micro level, how can you execute a long off season, a contest prep, and then nail it, and then a rebound and all these things? Like, it's that in itself is a microcosm of bodybuilding. Like if you can't be patient enough and adherent enough to check all these little boxes, like how are you going to do these things when they're scaled out over the long term? But yeah, all really good stuff, man. Hopefully that didn't get too ranty. I think even with the ranty vibe to it, there's some value in it.
I mean, it's firsthand. Like I can look back, coming up on a year of working with Dom, like, man, if I didn't make those changes, I'd still be spinning my tires with inflammation issues in my gut. My waistline would be worse than it was at that point, and it's gotten better. My abs are better. Like all these little factors, like, the devil is in the details. And I tell that to my clients, like, it might look sexy on Instagram to see IFBB pros, drinking shakes, food shakes, and eating copious amounts of cereal. And like, we've talked about that on this podcast. It can be a tool, but at no point should your diet consist of all processed foods and you disregard micronutrients altogether. I was that person. I was the person who's like, I don't want to eat vegetables, so I'm just going to drink a greens powder in the morning. And I guarantee that contributed to some of my gut health issues that I had over the years.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But then also kudos to you for practicing what you preach, because we were just talking about the point of being coachable. And then here you are saying, man, I used to do this. And then I hired Dom and I listened. And now look where I am. I'm fucking big and ripped at 16 weeks out, still yet to go. So, yeah, man, it's good stuff. That's bodybuilding, baby.
All right, you ready to do this fantasy draft?
Yeah, how much time do we have? We got like 15 minutes?
Yeah, rapid fire.
All right. All right, let's do it. You can go. It was my idea, so you can go first because I've been thinking about it all day. So, guys, the concept
We haven't even
to kind
told
of
them what
wrap
it
up.
is.
Yeah, we haven't told them. The concept of this to wrap up the episode, we're going to do like a kind of a rapid fire fantasy draft, as if we were uh, kind of co owning a gym, and we were just going to pick whatever designer pieces of equipment that we could have. We're going to go one by one, or I guess it would be like we are picking from a lot, and we each had our own gym.
Um, whatever. I mean, I want my gym to be nice, tight, and intimate. No windows to the outdoors.
All right,
Very
I'll have my own gym. Yeah, you got some
dungeon.
weird shit going on.
Yeah, it's
No,
masochistic.
I like the dungeon idea. I know Roman would appreciate that also.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
just
you
want to
go.
make sure the
First
mindset.
piece, number one piece, have to have it. First overall pick.
I don't know if it counts as a piece, but I need a
There we
barbell.
go. No, we're talking equipment. This
Okay,
guy,
equipment only.
Jesus
All right,
Christ.
let's assume we got steel plates, barbells.
I said fucking designer. Yeah, we're all gonna have the basics. Jesus,
All right. Your number one draft pick?
have to have it. Couldn't risk anyone else getting it. Have to have it.
I'm gonna go with the Atlantis pendulum then.
Wow. Okay. Not one that I would have taken. You thought what I did though for legs. I think that I would go with the Cybex leg press.
Okay, it's a
I
good
think
choice.
it's technically called the Cybex squat press. It's like you're like lying down in it.
Yeah, I've heard pivot press too.
Mm, okay. I don't know if that's in my vernacular, but
I'm not
I'll
gonna
let
say
it
that, but
I'll let it fly. Yeah, that's my pick.
all right. Let's so you've covered your legs. I basically focused on quads, so I guess I'll move over to I will do the Arsenal bilateral unilateral leg press combo
Really? Okay. Interesting.
because I can
All
make
right.
I can do a lot of different variations with that, and I like that piece particularly
Yeah.
because when you press the weight off the pins, it unracks itself. You don't have to do it with your hands, so you can already
Wow,
be
that's a
grabbing
very
the
nice feature.
you can be
Wow.
grabbing the handles.
I very nearly went with the Arsenal slash Nebula leg press as my first overall pick, the regular one, the big platform. I didn't realize that was a feature on it though, which is good. Um, man, I would say that I probably have to go. I would probably go with the Nautilus Nitro pull down. I need some big lats, so and I can do upper back on it if I need it. It's individual handles. I could do it for upper back if I wanted.
All right. Um, I'm going to use the incline plate loaded prime press.
Okay, first to dive into the prime stuff. I like it.
I just
I
really
would
like
say
that plate
no, it's
loaded press.
awesome. How are you? What are you doing with the loading? What are you loading?
Uh, I don't overload the bottom range of the
Right,
motion.
right.
Um,
Yeah, gravity's
middle and
pretty tough.
top, middle and
Yeah,
top, mostly
yeah,
middle.
yeah. Same. I just feel like sometimes I've tried heavier loading in the stretch, and it kind of feels like it's just going to rip straight off the bone. So I'm mostly, like you said, I'm mostly loading it in the middle. Um, man, that was a good one. That was a really good one for chest. I might just go basic as hell. I think I might just go incline hammer strength for chest.
It
Chest,
works.
I'll get some upper shelf front delt in there. Basic stuff.
I'm going to go
Mm,
with the Flex Fitness Hand Tracker seated leg curl.
I know exactly that. Wow, that's the one.
It is an amazing piece.
All right, in that scenario, so I don't lose out on it yet, I'm going with the flex leverage shoulder press multi grip where it has like the 45-degree neutral.
Yeah, it's nice.
I got another one from that old brand too. I'm praying you don't take it. You probably won't think of it.
No, I don't get it. That's not at my main gyms out here. I used that ham tracker at Kissimmee when I was in Orlando,
So
and
you're talking to the one it's got the handle that you push out.
yeah,
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
nothing
That one's
locks
the
your
goat.
pelvis down more in a seated leg curl than that piece. Nothing.
Yep. Yeah, you find like the hole that the pin's supposed to be in for you, where you just squeeze your thighs under the
Yeah,
fucking
it's almost
under the
painful to
pad.
be locked in that
It is
tight.
painful, and it's the best type of pain.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, Palm Gym has that. Shout out Robert at Palm Gym.
I will go with the Prime Extreme Row.
Motherfucker. You don't even know what it's called, and you're taking it from me. I should have taken that so much sooner. Fuck, that's a good one. Man, upper back row, that would have been the one. I would take my gym just got this, Jersey Shore Fitness just got this. I will take the chest supported T bar from Arsenal. It's got the adjustable handle thing, and then the handles also swivel.
It's
I'm
chest
about to post a
supported.
video of it tonight. Yeah. And it's a super upright angle. It
I've used it.
almost it puts you, I swear it puts you at like a Yates row angle, but chest
Mhm.
supported.
It's so It's so heavy. It's
Oh,
hard.
bro, I look like a wuss on this thing,
Yeah.
dude.
I
I feel like
tried.
people look at me like I should kind of be known like I use some big weights. I'm like a bodybuilder in the gym. And then I got it on this thing and I'm like, please, Lord, don't let anybody look over here while I'm doing this.
145 and 125 on each side.
You're
And I think I
smoking
did
me,
like,
dude. I had a 45 on each side only.
no, I barely did like 6 reps. And the last
Oh,
two, like I was broke.
yeah.
I had all these like, I had this preconceived loading pattern of what I was going to work up to. And like,
Yeah. Yeah.
bombed on the second warm up.
Yeah. I should have known, dude. I think that was the one back in the day, like Flex Lewis and all them were calling it the Humbler when he got it at his gym.
Yeah.
It's my first use on it, dude. I got on that thing. And even right now, because of the dyno surgery, I have to be careful with what chest supported stuff I do. But that is
Mhm.
just at a perfect angle. And the angle of the pad itself, man, that thing was money. I would have gone my number one pick for that for like upper back would have been the extreme row, but if not, I'll go with the Arsenal.
I'll say the Arsenal is going to give you a lot less chest compression where your sternum isn't going to be
Yes.
the limiting
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah. That and
Um,
for tall guys like us, I found the prime extreme row kind of puts you even at the lowest chest or like the highest and highest seat position. We're so tall that it you wind up being way internally rotated when you're at the top of this row, where you're almost like this, like where you start to be limit. Ideally, like you'd almost be like here, but instead it's like this. You know what I mean?
you've kind
I've
of outed
seen
yourself that you're standing and recording today.
Oh, I don't give a fuck. I figured I was moving around the whole time, dude.
No, I
Yeah.
want people to know that make sure
Oh,
you're like
oh yeah.
Joe's incorporating a standing desk.
Yeah, I had to go with the standing option today because I did legs this morning, and if I sat here and talked to Tommy for 2 hours and then tried to stand up, I probably would have just collapsed. So I just stood here with my knees locked out the whole time and dealt with it.
All right. Egotistically, I'm going to take the Body Masters converging shoulder press
Ooh, I've seen you working on that thing, man. I've
because
never used it, but it looks awesome.
I can move a lot of weight with that.
And isn't there a in that same kind of line? Isn't there like a pull down that works that way as well,
If they
where it's
do,
like
I
this
don't have access to it.
rotational?
I haven't seen it.
Oh no, okay, maybe I could totally just have made that up.
They have an
All right, so
incline pin loaded converging
mm,
press, Body Masters does,
okay,
that hits right along that clavicle perfectly. So
yeah,
that's also in my chest day.
okay. Hmm. So I gotta recap what I have. So I have a leg press, pull down for lats, upper back row, incline hammer press, shoulder press. I guess a squat I could use. I would go. Hmm. I like the flex hack squat as well. It's old school. I believe that's the Muscle Factory had that, and we needed. They luckily someone in the gym. I don't know if it was the owner or who, but they put like they shaped and created like a wooden platform to put on it because like for taller guys, you're hitting the safeties if you're burying it. So then he put this platform that like mimicked the platform but gave you another 5 or 6 inches or whatever it was, and it was awesome.
Nice.
I'm pretty much just recreating the leg room from the Muscle Factory in San Antonio. But
I was gonna say, I'm realizing how fortunate I am that I'm basically using the equipment for my 2 gyms that I train in.
Yeah.
I got chest. I need more chest. I really like this piece, so I'm gonna use the decline hammer strength plate loaded press.
Okay, right on. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I thought for sure you were gonna snag this. I'm gonna take the one that I have in mind. I'm gonna get spicy with it. The one I have in mind, you can adjust the angle. It can go flat, incline, but the plate loaded Atlantis chest press.
Plate loaded Atlantis chest press.
I've seen you on it.
Oh yeah. The incline.
This one that I'm thinking of is adjustable.
Okay.
You ever see it or no? Yours is a permanent incline.
Yeah. Well, we have 2. We have an incline and a flat.
Oh, you have no.
I
They
like
make
that.
one
That
that
has
does
the
both.
multi handles, right? Yeah, I
Yes.
love that 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
The flat one's hard to get into if you're over 200 pounds. It's very narrow.
But I like that the rack is adjustable too. That's big for me.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like we could do this for hours, honestly.
I mean, I mean, I don't need anything specific for arms. I just use cables and dumbbells.
Same. That's what I was thinking.
So
I have an idea. I have an idea for one last thing that I haven't mentioned.
I need I'll go with, if I got a pendulum, I got a leg press. I'll go with just because I like it, the Icarian hack squat.
Oh, very good choice. I must grow my delts. So I'm going with the prime seated lateral.
Okay. I've never used it.
Gives you the multicam. It's a little tight, especially for you. Like the pivot points are a little too narrow to where you have to really like fucking shimmy into it. But once you get into it, man, like that, I feel such a huge difference just working fucking top end shortened to top end lengthened, like across 5 or 6 sets. It's wild. I got out of that thing with my side delts blown up more than anything else that I've ever done.
I've sat in probably 4 different brands of seated lateral machines, and not one has been wide enough for me. So I just think it's a design thing.
Yeah, they're designing it for the average little person, you know?
Well, I just don't think you can make them do what you want and make them that wide too. So it's just it's my leverages basically. But
I will say the Atlantis, they make one that has like a platform and it's got like long handles as a lateral, and that has always felt pretty smooth to me also.
I used this once, I believe. I think it's Atlantis plate loaded pull down. You can do it unilaterally.
I don't know. I might have to look that one up. That's the first. That's the first.
It might not be Atlantis. I can't. It's at that gym in Orlando that I go to every time I'm there. Iron Religion.
Okay, yeah. And what is it?
It might be Prime. Actually, did you take that Prime plate loaded pull down?
I didn't. I took the Nautilus.
It's Prime. Handle. It's Prime.
Pull down.
Because I remember that gym has all Prime back pieces and then their leg equipment.
Yeah. No, that Prime pull down is, man. If it wasn't the Nautilus for me, like if you took the Nautilus, I would have taken the Prime. Yeah. Again, because you can multi-load it or manipulate how you're loading it. The angle of it for me is just slightly less desirable than the Nautilus, but it's close. I think that's everything, man. I don't want to bore these folks
Yeah.
anymore.
Let's end it since when this comes out, there will be an Arnold Classic champion. Who you got winning since it's been developing?
I'm gonna go Andrew Jack.
I like it. I've heard.
Dude, Aceto.
Yeah.
If anyone can get this guy peeled, it's him.
Yeah.
I mean, even you look back, we used to say that about Rami. All we need to do is get him peeled. And then Aceto got him and got him peeled, then he was flat. Like I don't think it was an indictment on Aceto. The job was to get the guy peeled. You got him peeled, it just didn't look right. I think with Andrew, it simply is just pull some shit off of his glutes and hamstrings, and you have maybe a Mr. Olympia winner. So
I'm gonna
I would expect an all time best Andrew to get the placing and win this.
yeah. I could see it. I mean, I feel like
I'm just gonna bet on him every time until it happens. That way, it's like, see, I told you guys, I
you
knew he
could
was
pick.
coming.
I feel
Yeah.
like I could pick 5 names right now that might win on Saturday.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a
I'm
fucking
gonna go with
excellent show.
Samson. Samson.
Yeah, yeah. If I had to pick as far as who I would just want to see, like as a fan, I want to see Samson win.
Yeah.
I just figured I'd bring a hot take to the podcast. Now, if Andrew Jack shows up and looked like an alien, I'll take all the credit for it. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
I
Me and
think
Chris really dialed him in at the last minute there, and it
yeah.
all came together. So
I really do. I really am. I was leaning towards Nick, but I'm going to choose Samson. But I think Nick's right there, Nick Walker.
agreed. Yep. Yeah. He's going to be up there. I mean, even in my scenario, it's I think honestly, if with the caveat of Andrew Jack being in better conditioning that we've seen, I think that might be enough. I don't think he needs to be Ronnie Coleman from the back, but I think if he's noticeably better than what he has been, I could see the scenario where in any order it's Nick, Samson, and Andrew as the final three.
Yeah, and then I mean,
Rami burned us so bad at the Olympia, dude.
he did, and then there's like this little voice in my head that says, "But he could show up and just dominate too, in a way,
He was so off at the Olympia, and it was still not,
or at least be so much improved that he causes a ripple in these placings."
bro. Let's not forget, I was adamant that I was like, Rami's blowing the doors off everybody at the Olympia, and I'm
I said the
excited about
same
it.
thing. I
No,
said
I know you
Rami
said,
and then two
yeah.
through 10.
No, I know, yeah. That's why I said he burned us. But I would love if he comes back and just smashes everybody and wins the show. I'm gonna be so pumped to see whatever the fuck that looks like. Because his back, they posted a back double, and it does look better. So I almost wonder maybe it was in part a posing thing. I know they're doing the stem cells right now, and that's supposed to help. We'll see. We'll see what he's got.
Yeah. I know one person you and I talked about, we were messaging is Justin Rodriguez, dark horse. Like
Bro.
he's getting lost in all these
Nobody
names.
talks about this guy. Nobody talks about him. And to say, to be fair, I just named my top three, and I didn't have him in there. But if the next time we speak, we were talking about Justin, I don't know, being fourth or fifth.
I see it. I would say fourth is like I just have him in my
Yeah.
head. He could just show up and end up fourth.
If they are judging the physiques on just in that moment, in that day, who is the better physique, I think that if Rami brings what he brought to the Olympia and Justin brought what he brought to the start of the Arnold last year, Justin will place ahead of him. He just
Mm-hmm.
needs to not fuck it up with his shoulders.
True.
Just leave them alone. You are a freak show without it. Like the delts are off the charts insane without it. Pin anywhere else. Even if it's just gear, pin somewhere else.
Yeah. Or just
Because his back shots, dude, he's got for a big guy, he's got a pretty small waist. He gets in trouble when his midsection is just washed out. He has these showings sometimes where there's just no lines in his abs. Um, but he's brought his quads up to match, and his back is maybe the best in bodybuilding. I mean, is that crazy to say?
No, that
That
rear
back
lat
flat
spread,
spread is probably
yeah,
the best in bodybuilding.
insane, dude. When you can close out all of the air between your arms and like there's you can't
And the
see
lats,
daylight,
yes, yeah.
and then the adductors are
And then the
touching,
same thing
like
with the legs, yes,
yeah, it's
yeah,
nasty, dude. And if that's
that is
peeled,
nasty.
game over.
And he's not someone, he's can be hit or miss, but this is not someone that we've never seen hit. We've seen him look fucking ridiculous sometimes, so we know that that's in there. And that's the same thing. I don't. No one's going to talk about him, and I'm personally like not putting him there. But Akeem is the same
Yeah,
thing. If Akeem
same.
just decides to show up and nail it and stay on his diet, he could be fucking second. He could win the show.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that's what I mean. Every guy, I
there
think,
are just a lot of weapons that if they nail it could win.
in
Even
this
the guys that we're
show,
not talking about.
yeah, I think every guy in this show has multiple show wins.
Ooh, wow.
Like if we looked at even Patrick Moore he's won the Cal Pro at least once,
Forgot
maybe
about that.
twice.
He won that show twice for sure.
I think every
Nick
guy has multiple pro show
Nick
wins.
definitely does. Samson definitely does. Andrew won 2 shows in his first year.
Sean Correa is
Um,
Mr. 212
Bonac,
Olympian.
Clarita, um, Justin has multiple wins.
He's got at least two.
Indy, and then what else?
Did he win New York one year or no?
I do. I know that you're right that he has multiple wins. I don't remember if one of them was New York. I thought he was second to Nick in New York.
Maybe. And then did he win Orlando or
Oh, okay. Yeah, could have been. And then he definitely won Indy at some point too, I believe.
yeah.
But yeah, he's. You're
Akeem
right.
has
That's a
won the Tampa.
yes.
He's
He's
won
won.
shows.
Yeah, he won like a Baltimore show a couple years back.
Yep.
Um, wow. Yeah, that's an excellent point about this. Yeah. So I mean, it's not unrealistic to say I hate to do it, but I have to leave Patrick Moore out. I don't foresee any scenario that he wins.
No.
Other than that, I wouldn't be completely shocked about really any of these guys. Sean would be the most just because of what he's giving up structurally, but we've already been conditioned to know that that is a physique that can beat bigger bodybuilders. So I wouldn't be completely stunned because he's probably the most consistent professional bodybuilder in bodybuilding right now competing. He's on the money every single time. So knowing that that's the case with that shape and everything, it just takes a couple of guys leaving the door open, and then the momentum grows that he's the best bodybuilder in the show.
I feel like Sean is like a bodybuilder's dream peak, but it's every time because he's always full, he's
Yes.
always peeled. He doesn't have to give up.
Exploding hard
He
and
doesn't give up
crazy
either.
peeled. Neither.
And all of us talk about getting that one peak that we nail it just that one time, and that's the case. And like that's him every time. And it's only his structural limitations that we're saying might hinder his placing. But like you
I
said,
think
like
if
when
he's
you're
5'10" and he did everything as he has, we're talking about him as the best bodybuilder ever.
yeah, when you're raging full and peeled with striations, that like there's no flaws. There's no
Yes.
flaws.
Yeah. Like Claude, the thing is, he's got kind of a wild combination as well. Like he's exploding full, packed to the brim with muscle,
Upper half,
but then
especially.
the shape is excellent though. And then there are certain body parts when you look at Sean that are crazy grainy conditioning, but then there are some parts on Sean that like the lines are beautiful to look at. Like
Mm-hmm.
his midsection down to his quads just in a front shot, like those are beautiful lines. But then,
Mm-hmm.
like, you see him from the back, and his glutes and his hams and his Christmas tree are gnarly, like Branch Warren hard. So he's just got it all, other than the number of like, how tall he is, really.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like, what is he weighing at in the 180s?
I
Like
just
he's
saw they posted that a week out he was 194, maybe, which
yeah,
is he's getting there, man. He was winning 212 shows at 175 pounds. So to see him
Yeah.
continue to progress like that, um, man, who knows? Like, if he's healthy, I would love if he was healthy and he just continued to roll right on. Like him at 210 looks fucking absurd. You almost wonder then at that point is it does he go too far and then his midsection is compromised? Because
I
he
think
just looks packed. He just looks packed full.
that's the only thing that could is if you start to lose your any sort of like, I guess, shape in that sense of like floaty or
Yeah,
physique. If you just become like a
yeah,
blob of muscle, then it's like,
yeah,
man, you took it a little too far. But
yeah.
good luck telling someone to stop pursuing that.
No, yeah, especially when it's done nothing but work. So, all right, man, we were fucking rambling on this show for everybody. I enjoyed it though. I think there's a ton of value, especially in everything that you had to share about your prep. That was awesome for me too, because as a friend, I'm interested, and we saved that conversation for the show itself. So those are my live reactions. I didn't even know about the chess and or anything like
Yeah.
that. So
I'm glad
um,
that was real. That was not scripted.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, thanks for everybody for watching and following along. Thanks for everybody that's in the Facebook group, commenting, contributing there. I'm about to end this and then jump in there, and I have a big comment to leave to that conversation that was going on. That was some good stuff. So, yeah, for Tommy Stiles, I'm Joseph PIRCHER. This was a Thinking Man's podcast. Until next time, guys, we are out.